I think even entrepreneurs who are far more successful than me, behind closed doors, there's always going to be challenges. And those challenges are inner and outer challenges, right? Our doubts, we could be doing this for 20, 30, 50 years. The doubts still come up. The insecurities still come up.
Welcome to Making It, the podcast where winning entrepreneurs share how they're building for success and the lessons they're learning along the way. I'm Danny Iny, the founder and CEO of Michi. We help coaches, consultants, and creators monetize their gifts. So if you think your expertise should be driving more income than it is, we help you bridge that gap. We do this because we believe ethical and impactful businesses can change the world for the better. This show helps you do exactly that. And if you want to learn even more, you can check out our business education programs and online community at michi.com.
Thanks, Danny, and hello, everyone. Michi here, your host and producer on Making It. Today, I'm going to talk to communication and emotional wellness coach and retreat leader, Gayle Nowak. Gayle is the founder of the Story Stylist and Sage Sensation Retreats. She guides spirit-led coaches and healers to heal visibility wounds, speak their soul's truth, and attract aligned clients. Welcome, Gayle.
Thank you for having me, Michi.
We're going to dive into more about your journey as an entrepreneur and your business, but I'd like to kind of just put a pin on the map before we do that. So where in the world are you? And if you could describe yourself in 3 words.
Love that. I am located in Beverly, Massachusetts, which is North Shore of Massachusetts. Most people probably haven't heard of it, but many people have probably heard of Salem, Massachusetts. So I live right next door. And I'd say, 3 words that I would use to describe me are curious, creative, and deep.
Prior to our conversation, I know you said that you believe that the entrepreneurial journey is a healing and spiritual journey. And I believe that as well. But let's go all the way to the start, to the beginning. What inspired you to become an entrepreneur? What happened, or is there a specific moment?
Yeah, there's a couple of points of inspiration. So I'll first go back to what I lovingly call the smelliest job on my college campus. Ooh. I was a student supervisor at the dining commons at UMass Amherst. And so if you can picture this, cafeteria in the back, there's the commercial dishwashers roaring and trays are slamming and there's, half-eaten food everywhere and it's steamy and hot and everything. My clothes permanently smelled like food. I could not get that smell out. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was fun. It was flexible. And as a supervisor, I got to choose what shifts I could work. I got to choose which roles I would do on that shift. I even got to choose my team. And so what if it was messy and smelly? I felt free. And this really planted a seed for me early on that I want work that gives me that kind of choice and creativity and connection. So that was college, and I really didn't know necessarily what that looked like, what kind of work that looked like. I was studying journalism, so of course I became a journalist for a while, and then I moved into marketing communications and public relations over the span of about 17 years. So storytelling was also this common thread through each of those positions. And then around 2013, I really started to get serious about launching my own business. And I was watching digital marketing. I was studying it. I was getting more acquainted with the solopreneur space, and storytelling was really hot at that time. I mean, I think storytelling is always going to be hot, but it was really prominent. So it just felt right. It felt like it was time. And that felt like the natural step for me to help entrepreneurs find and craft and tell their stories. And I really thought that my business was going to be purely about messaging and story and marketing strategy, because that was my professional background. Those were the skills that I was bringing with me. But then when I started working with clients, they started getting vulnerable and they shared stories with me they never told anyone. And witnessing their courage made me realize I have a story that I think I might need to share that I haven't shared. And it started to bring up this awareness around the concept of visibility wounds because I really didn't want to share this story. And I kept getting this
Mm.
intuitive nudge that I needed to share it. And it didn't make sense to me. I really couldn't place the business relevance to it. And so I resisted for a couple of years and tried a whole bunch of other things instead of telling this story until I finally got to this point where I was like, okay, fine, I will tell it. I will tell this story. And really, it was about my own childhood vow of silence, a vow that I made when I was 9 years old, not to speak about the abuse that was happening in my home. And then when I finally got the courage to speak up about that in my teens, no one believing me.
Mm.
And so I couldn't
Okay.
see it beforehand. But once I started to share that part of me and really start to understand, of course, that visibility might feel risky, might feel dangerous, because for me, speaking truth wasn't received. And
Mm.
making myself invisible actually was a way for me to navigate that situation.
Mm.
So marketing felt exposing, and I attracted
Yeah.
clients who felt a similar way. And also the story work actually felt very liberating and healing and sacred. And so that really started to become the turning point of my business where my work shifted from let me help you tell your story from like that
Mm.
very surface level, that strategic level to let me help you tell a truth or tell the truth in a
Yeah.
way that heals you, it empowers others, and it allows you to be visible in the way that you want to be seen.
This speaks to my heart. I'm gonna quickly just share something personal as well. That me growing up, I was visible regardless of where I was because of my skin color. I grew up in Sweden. At the time, the society there wasn't full of people of color. So I
Mm.
was trying to fit in a sense that I couldn't because I was so visible, even if I wasn't. I identify a lot with the ugly duckling. I'm trying
Yeah.
hard to be a duck, but so thank you for sharing that. I think many people out there have their own kind of similar story and struggle and wounds around visibility, and it feels dangerous somehow to tell your story that is your true story. So when was this in time when you started that shift? Was that
Yeah. So that was about 2 years into my business when
mm,
I started telling my story. And it actually, I'll be honest, I would never recommend that my clients do it the way that I did it. And yet at the same time, I feel like I needed to go through my own
yeah,
process so that I was able to help clients navigate in a way where they're safe, they go at their own pace, they don't re
yeah.
traumatize themselves. Because that's the thing. A lot of my
Mm,
clients' trauma does inform what they're creating in the
mm,
world. It's
mm,
not 100% of the time,
mm,
but it's pretty common, right?
yeah.
And so I had to learn to be a better steward for myself so that I could be a safe space for others. And
Mm,
I, like so many things in my life, I learned by making mistakes,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was in 2015 when that
Mm,
shift started to happen. And it continues, that work
mm,
continues. I
mm,
had no idea how deep that was going to go, but it really set me
mm.
on a very deep and transformative and healing path.
Wow, wonderful. So, who are the people that usually come to you, and how do you
Mm.
work with them? Is it one to one? Do you do group coaching? How do you work? Tell us about that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I work primarily with spirit-led coaches
Hmm.
and conscious leaders and healers. And typically they're done diluting their voice,
Yeah.
right? They've done enough strategic work so that the real barrier to visibility is not so much the strategy, it's the inherited programming, right? It
Yeah.
says don't don't disrupt anything, be agreeable, be quiet. And those patterns really create leaders who are technically present, but emotionally unavailable.
Mm,
And yes, I do work with clients one on one. I host retreats. I work with small groups. but typically one-on-one, because the work is intimate and it is vulnerable, and it is about helping clients access their truth. And sometimes it's a truth that they've been protecting their whole lives. And I do have a process. I call it energy first and healing centered, because we really start with the inside. We really start with, what energy are you in? How are you being? So that we can orient ourselves to, okay, this is how I'm being when I'm showing up. Am I being my true self, or am I hiding or silencing myself in some way? And then really learning to speak with clarity, to reclaim inner power, to take up space, and to do that in a way where you don't feel like you're abandoning yourself.
Yeah. So it's very inspirational. And I'm always in awe when I hear entrepreneurs share their kind of moment where I didn't really envision that from the beginning, but there was this moment, and it took it to a place where I'm so fulfilled.
For me, the most rewarding part is witnessing someone reclaim a piece of themselves that they thought that they had to hide. And I think we actually demonstrated this a little bit at the beginning of the show, right? I shared a little bit about me, and you shared about you and your experience, and how universal, right, some of these things are. It's a connection point for people. It's relatable, but it's more than that. It's really connecting heart to heart. And I think that is what's fulfilling about this. It's not only, don't get me wrong, I like success. I'm a recovering overachiever. And, those are moments. And I feel like when you're witnessing people come alive and be true to who they are, that's what is long lasting. I'll never forget the first time I shared my story publicly at a speaking event. I was in front of about 50 women entrepreneurs, and we were in this ballroom basement. So there's no windows, and I get up on stage, the power goes out.
Wow.
So not only am I nervous, the power goes out, I freeze, and then the lights flick back on. But I'm just standing there staring at the audience, and it felt like an eternity. It was probably like just a few moments, but I was really rattled. Ultimately, I found my way back. I gave my talk, but internally I was like, oh my God, that was horrible. I did a horrible job. But afterwards, a coach came up to me and she said, I've been hiding a part of my story too. And hearing you today is giving me the courage to share it tomorrow at my speaking engagement. And I was like, that's great. Tell me how it goes. And so she contacted me afterwards the next day, and she said, someone came up to me after my speaking engagement and said that her story changed his heart and his mind. And those moments are what matter. That's everything to me, because it's so much more than telling a story. And I know for me, it's very much about breaking a pattern of silence, but it's also about remembering who you are and the ripple effects of that. When one person steps forward and is brave enough to share truth about themselves, or a truth about the world.
I mean, there's a very big difference between sharing a story and do a presentation. And I think wasn't it Marianne Williamson that said, when you allow yourself to shine, you give the permission to other people to shine their light as well. So that's wonderful. And I want to change the direction a bit in our conversations. People starting out or not being an entrepreneur can think that entrepreneurs have everything all figured out, and they're kind of, especially when they're kind of seasoned and been on it for some time, and they, it seems so, this is how I'm going to do it, and 1, 2, 3, XYZ. So do you have a moment that you can share when you kind of realize, like, I don't have everything figured out? Even like now, I mean, you have a lot of years behind you being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm always learning. I'm always learning. And I don't have it all figured out. And it's funny, sometimes ignorance really is bliss, because I remember I wanted to do this for so long. And then when I was right on the edge, and I was like, it's just going to take me 18 months. I know I have all this marketing background. That's going to be easy for me. But the thing is, I had a lot of training in traditional marketing. I had no no education or experience really with online marketing.
Mm.
And
Mm.
that's a very different animal. And it continues to be a very different, I mean, it evolves so quickly. I was
Mm.
watching digital marketing probably in the Web 2.0 days, like leading up to
Well,
starting my business. And it's so different now.
no. Yeah.
And then as I got into my business, I had a little bit of, what do they call that? Confirmation bias.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a good student. I'm an overachiever. And it's true. Like I have motivation. I have drive. I can be really organized. I can be really creative. I have a lot of those skills, but it's bringing it all together in a way that actually is effective. And I
Yeah.
think that that's what a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with.
Mm.
And I think even the perception that successful entrepreneurs have it all together can be really damaging, because
Yeah.
I think even entrepreneurs who are far more successful than me, behind closed doors, there's always going to be, or maybe not, depending on how transparent they are,
Mm. Mm.
there's always going to be challenges. And those
Mm.
challenges are inner and outer challenges, right? Our doubts, we could be doing this for 20, 30, 50 years. The doubts still come up. The
Yeah.
insecurities still come up.
Yeah.
The I don't know how to do this
Mm.
still comes up. And
Mm.
I think this is changing in the coaching world and in the online space. But I think that this perception of success in the glossy magazine terms is, first of all, it's not real.
Mm.
It's fake.
Mm.
It's a moment. It might be real in a
Yeah.
moment, but the day to day, the things that are not so sexy, the
Mm.
things that, like I shared that moment with that coach, that's what gets me out of bed in the morning when I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I don't want to do today. Those are the things that actually keep you going. It's not the, landing the big client or the big contract or winning the awards. All of that is worth celebrating, but it's not the thing that keeps you going and keeps you from just packing it in when things get challenging.
I understand you have kind of two different businesses. You have the story stylist and the Sage Sensation Retreats. Is that where you fully work full time in both of those, or how does that
Yeah,
work?
I mean, it's one business, and I went through a period where I actually was thinking of dropping the story stylist name, because I
Mm-hmm.
had become known as the story coach, especially in my local
Yeah.
area. And my work was evolving beyond that. It's now, story was the focus, helping my clients with signature story and,
Yeah.
using story and speaking engagements. But it's really expanded more into this visibility piece and creating authentic connection. And retreats, Sage Sensation Retreats, it's probably more like a brand under the Story Stylist umbrella than a separate
Okay.
business. But that was okay. So here's an example of, right, like not having it all figured out. Is 19. Up until that point, like I really had a consultancy model, and I
Mm-hmm.
was even starting to move more into authority positioning and PR, because people would get wind that I had done
Mm.
PR, and I had done PR for pretty high profile campaigns, and they wanted that. And so I kind of
Yeah.
got swept up in that. And in 2019, all of a sudden I found myself like running this mini PR agency, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, I left this. I mean, I really loved my PR job. It was a dream job, but it was somebody else's dream. And I didn't necessarily want to do that
Mm.
again, but there I was doing it again, right? Because that's what people were asking me to do. It's what I knew how to do. It was safe. It was easy for me.
Mm.
And it was good money, but
Yeah.
I felt empty inside. I was
Mm.
like, something's off. Something's off about this. And by early 2020 had released, or I was wrapping up those clients,
Yeah.
and again took another leap of faith and was like, I feel called to do transformational coaching, and got
Yeah.
myself in a program where not only was it learning transformational coaching and how to facilitate transformation in a more intentional way, it was also bringing that soulful piece
Yeah.
into the business. That was always there, but it was kind of behind the scenes.
Mm.
And I wasn't necessarily sharing that in my marketing. I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
sharing that with my clients. And this program that I got in, that was a year-long program at the beginning of the pandemic with no clients and a huge investment, that was a game changer for me. And so I wasn't really sure what I was going to be at the end of that.
Yeah.
And so I did it, hosting and leading retreats was a big part of that. And this phrase, sage sensation, kept coming to me. And so there was a point where I thought I was going to just change my name. And then the story piece started coming back around again. So this is a thing, right? Entrepreneurship is not linear. And I haven't felt called to drop either one. But I would say that the sage sensation really does speak to the experience of the retreats that I lead, but it all falls under the umbrella of the storytellist.
Storytelling. So where you are now, do you have a goal? How does this look for you in, let's say, within 1 to 3 years? Where do you see yourself moving?
Yeah, my focus right now and over the next few years is expanding my impact and supporting my clients and expanding theirs. I want to anchor more truth and light in a world that feels pretty heavy and dark right now. Practically, that looks like working with more clients who are committed to being seen in their magic, who are ready to share their medicine and receive abundantly for how they're serving. I mean, I think that this is a common challenge in the coaching world and, working with healers in particular. The abundance piece is tricky, and it's been tricky for me too.
Yeah.
Full transparency. And at the same time, I think that humanity is in a values shift. And so I do think that this more heart-centered work is going to become more valuable. People are now, the old way of doing business or doing life, doing relationships, we see it. It's falling away. And people don't necessarily know what's going to come next. But I really sense and believe that more and more people are going to be seeking a different way. And I'm hoping to be ready for it. And I'm hoping my clients are ready for that too, because yes, there's some scary things, but it's an exciting time. We're collectively evolving. So yeah, I see myself leading more retreats. I see growing intimate group programs, having the right team support me so that I can stay in my zone of genius, which I see as being a space holder, being a spokesperson. And then I would say on a bigger scale, I really want this work to contribute to that tipping point where more leaders are raising their hand and saying, yes, I want to heal my wounds and I want to create a more loving and conscious world.
Yeah. So do you have ideas? I'm rooting for you, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
But do you have ideas of how to make that happen? I mean, is it more marketing or do you have other ideas that you would like to share?
Yeah, I in 2023, I got what I call a download, and it was all about transforming leadership into new earth values. And I was like, okay, well, what
does that mean?
What does this mean, and how do I go about doing that? And a piece of that really was, and I haven't implemented this yet. I received it and I said, okay. And a piece of it was looking at leadership programs and entrepreneurial programs, whether they were community-based or even in higher education, and bringing more of this, heart-led, soulful approach to the more practical things that college students are learning in entrepreneurial programs, or even business owners. Like we have a young entrepreneurs organization around here, so those community, or E for All is really popular. Entrepreneurs for All around here. So I'd say it's percolating. I haven't done much with that, but it's there. It's still there. And I think that's, because I love one-on-one work. I love going deep. I love that intimate connection. And so I think part of it is really, those programs are a way to amplify that impact.
Yeah.
And so, the how is still unfolding.
It's percolating and unfolding. Yeah. Sounds like a really great vision to my ears anyway.
Yeah, thank you.
So just a quick question. Do you have a team now, or is it a team that you want so you can be more focused in your zone of genius?
Yeah, I have some team,
Hmm.
but it's really bringing on. I have a financial team. I've always
Hmm.
had somebody financially
Yeah.
from the get-go.
Yep.
In the past, I have had brought people on to help with client. This was more in my consulting era
Okay.
where I brought practitioners on to help with client delivery.
Hmm.
Um, I don't have that right now, and I'm not sure that that's what I would necessarily be looking for. I would love to have someone come on and do sales. I think that's the
Yeah.
dream of most entrepreneurs. I've been doing sales the entire time. It's not, I get better at it with practice, and it's not my strong suit. So I'd really love to bring on someone who aligns with my values, who understands the work, who believes in the work, and who could
Yeah.
take on some of that. Not that I would give it to them all completely, but that who could help me with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that in terms of moving your business forward, is that the biggest challenge for you, or is it?
Actually, I think the biggest challenge for me is when I am about to grow
Mhm.
or be seen in a bigger way, something tends to pop up and
Mm.
slow me down or push me into doubt. So I think I'm my biggest challenge sometimes. It's deeper. It's deeper for me. I think on a personal level, it really boils down to unapologetically asserting my needs. Like that's
Mm.
really been something that's been a struggle for
Mm.
me for my whole life. And really prioritizing this vision
Mm.
of this business and the impact that I would love for it to have. In addition to that, also balancing it with being a conscious and present parent because I have two kids and I'm really deeply committed to both my family and my calling,
Yeah.
like many coaches and entrepreneurs are. And for those who have family and a business and you're growing both,
Mm-hmm.
you're raising both, right? Those holding those two commitments together, it really takes a lot of intentionality. And so that's I think that's been an ongoing challenge. I think I'm getting better with balancing those things, but it really is a dance between honoring your purpose, honoring your people, and then also not losing yourself in all of
Mm.
that.
Yeah. Oh, that is so relatable. Not just for for me, but for many people. So how do you help yourself when being your own worst enemy? I'm like that myself. So how do you help yourself get out of that? Do you have someone to talk to, or is it some kind of your own tools that you're applying on yourself? Or it would be interesting to see and maybe get some
Yeah.
tips how you deal with that kind of doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a mix, I have
Mm.
my own tools. I try to be a client to myself.
Mhm.
Times actually, we can do a lot on our own and
Mhm.
sometimes you need somebody outside of you. You need that neutral perspective. So
Yeah.
I'm often working with coaches. I have a
Mhm.
therapist.
Mm.
I go to I'm not currently going to healers and energy workers right now, but I have in the past. But really, it's about just having a lot of compassion and
Yeah.
patience for
Yeah.
yourself. I would say, a big, big thing for me has been my mornings and really
Mm.
protective of my mornings. I have a variety of practices. In the morning, I try to switch it up. It's kind of like, going to the gym. After a while, it just kind of becomes automatic and
Mhm.
rote. So I try to switch things around, but just having that 10, 15 to 20 minutes in the morning to get grounded and present and centered makes a world of difference. And that sounds simple, but in our modern day world,
Mm.
you have to really make it a practice. You have to be intentional. You have to make the time for it.
Yeah, definitely. Is it meditation, journaling, breath work,
Yeah,
or walk?
meditation, journaling, movement is so big for
Oh, yes.
me. I need to move. I need to move.
Mhm.
And I think, a lot of us who sit behind a computer all day, we
Mhm.
need to get up and move. It moves the energy. But sometimes I do qigong, sometimes it's just walking around the block.
Yeah.
nature is, I live in a small city, but I also live near the ocean, the beach. So I try to get into more natural spaces. Yeah. So there's no shortage of ways to just tend to your soul on a daily basis.
Word, as the young people say, word. But that is a beautiful end note to our conversation. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you think would be valuable for our entrepreneurs to listen to when it comes to moving your business forward or developing and growing yourself? That could be helpful having, especially maybe for people very newly into their business, like 2-3 years maybe.
Yeah. My advice would be specifically about visibility, because I remember at that time getting a lot of messages about how to be visible. And coming, probably coming from a good place, but it's really nuanced. And I think that there's this big push about, kind of reminds me of my PR days too, right? Like all PR is good PR, all visibility is good visibility, be omnipresent. I don't necessarily subscribe to that. My advice would really be like, be you, be more you, be truer. It's not about being louder or outrageous, or unless that really is your personality. It's about being more you. It's that truth in alignment that magnetizes and wins hearts and minds for the long term.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. We should all be more ourselves, who we are. So before we close, where's the best place for people to connect with you and your work, and where do they find you?
You can find me at GayleNowak.com. That's GayleNowak.
Okay, people, we will have that link below and in the show notes for the podcast players as well. Thank you so much, Gayle, for this conversation. I would love to go to one of your retreats for sure. Thank you for being here. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in, and see you next time. And here's Danny to close us out. Bye.
That's it for this episode of Making It. Thanks for watching or listening. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and like on YouTube or your favorite podcast player to catch future episodes. This show is brought to you by Miracy. We help coaches, consultants, and creators monetize their gifts. So if you think your expertise should be driving more income than it is, we help you bridge that gap. We do this because we believe ethical and impactful business can change the world for the better. This show helps you do exactly that. And if you want to learn even more, you can check out our business education programs and online community at Miracy.com.